Hey everyone, welcome to the show.
Great to be diving in again.
So imagine this kingdom, right? Hugely influential, basically helps birth England as we know it.
Hmm.
And yet, its actual story, it's like
Oh.
whispers, almost like a phantom limb of history.
That's a great way to put it. Today, we are definitely plunging into that shadow world, the world of Mercia.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive into Max Adams, the birth of the Anglo-Saxons. We're
Yeah.
trying to piece together this really fascinating story.
Fascinating and sometimes, let's be honest, pretty frustratingly incomplete.
Totally.
It's history, obviously, but it feels almost like detective work, doesn't it? Trying to reconstruct this Midland powerhouse.
It really does.
Adams took on a huge task here, trying to, illuminate Mercia.
Yeah.
Because its impact, well, it's undeniable.
Right.
But getting a continuous narrative like you get for Wessex down south or maybe Northumbria up north, it's just elusive for Mercia.
And I think that's what really grabbed me about the book, actually.
Mm.
The sheer, ingenuity needed to bring Mercia out of the shadows. Because Adams doesn't have that easy year-by-year chronicle to just follow along.
No straightforward account at all.
Instead, he's masterfully weaving together all these different threads. You've got land charters, mentions and Bede's, even though Bede's clearly got his Northumbrian bias.
Absolutely. You always have to read Bede with that in mind.
And then there's the archaeology,
Yeah.
the actual digs. It feels like trying to understand, I don't know, a lost city from just a few scattered potsherds.
And what's so interesting is how those individual pieces, when you start putting them side by side, they actually begin to show a really complex picture.
Yeah.
Mercia wasn't like one single thing. It was this collection of really distinct peoples. The Rio Cincetina, the Washia.
Middle angles.
Middle Angles, right. Each with their own sort of identities, their own histories, now all brought under this Mercian banner.
It really underscores how early England wasn't just, England yet. It was much more of a patchwork.
A mosaic, yeah. Different cultures, different loyalties, all shifting around.
Definitely. And the book gives these amazing little glimpses, these snapshots, into the lives of people you just never hear about.
Like who?
Well, through things like the witness lists on old charters, basically, old property records.
Yeah.
You see the names of noble women popping up or local priests and bishops, regional leaders. It's like getting a roll call for the supporting cast.
That's fantastic. It really fleshes out the society beyond just the big names, the kings, and the battles everyone focuses on.
Exactly. It gives a much richer feel for how things actually worked on the ground.
And those charters, they are just invaluable, aren't they? They give you details. The big narrative histories often just gloss over.
Like land ownership.
Land ownership, yeah, trade networks maybe. You see hints of commerce, things like salt, iron,
Oh, yeah.
and just the complex social structures within Mercia itself. The fact that so many of these documents actually survived for Mercia, well, it kind of speaks volumes about how sophisticated their administration must have been even back then.
That's a really good point. Okay, so let's maybe unpack a couple of things we found. Well, maybe challenging, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Adams does an amazing job, no question. But just because of the nature of Mercian history, there are these huge gaps, right?
Oh, definitely. Blank spaces on the map.
Yeah. And we were left with just so many questions, like what really happened during certain kings' reigns? How did their politics actually evolve?
You just hit the nail on the head there. It's understandable, given the sources he does have,
Of course.
but it absolutely leaves you wanting more answers. It's the frustration of the historian sometimes.
And that leads to another point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About how we actually reconstruct the past.
Yeah, how we have to work. Because Mercia doesn't have its own big story like the Anglo-Saxon chronicle for Wessex.
Right, no Mercian chronicle.
We often have to figure out its history by looking at how it interacts with the other kingdoms, reading between the lines of their stories.
So it's like understanding Mercia by what its neighbors were doing, or by the space it occupied in their records.
Exactly. It's a history sometimes defined by, its absence in other people's stories.
Yeah.
And that, inevitably, it gives you a less complete picture of its own internal stuff, its own long-term goals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And okay, the other thing, and Adams really does try hard to make it accessible,
He does.
but there are moments where the sheer density of the information, especially when he's interpreting these really fragmented bits of evidence, it can feel a
A
little,
bit academic, a bit heavy going.
yeah, maybe a bit overwhelming. You really have to kind of lean in and focus to get all the nuances he's pulling out.
Well, that's just the reality of working with this kind of material, isn't it? You're dealing with, dry legal documents sometimes, or these tiny mentions in someone else's history.
Sure.
They need really careful interpretation. You need to understand the context, the language. It's not always a simple, straightforward story you can just tell.
No, definitely not. So, okay, summing up then. Having gone through the birth of the Anglo-Saxons, wrestled with this enigmatic Mercian legacy, where do we land on a rating?
Hmm. It's tough because the source limitations are real. But what he achieves despite that,
Yeah, I'm thinking a strong 4 out of 5 stars.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I'd agree with that. 4 stars. It's such a vital book, really insightful for understanding this absolutely pivotal period.
Even if, the historical record means some Mercia's secrets are going to stay locked away, probably forever.
Agreed. Adams really has done a remarkable job bringing Mercia into much sharper focus than it often gets, highlighting its crucial role in, well, the making of England.
And acknowledging the challenges, too. He doesn't pretend it's easy.
No, he's upfront about the difficulties.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so if this glimpse into the hidden power of Mercia has got you thinking,
Hopefully it has.
then definitely hit that like button, and please subscribe for more deep dives.
Yep, helps us out a lot.
We've also put a link to The Birth of the Anglo-Saxons on Amazon down in the description if you want to grab a copy and explore it yourself.
And thanks so much for joining us for this discussion. We hope it's sparked a bit of curiosity about this really fascinating kingdom.
We genuinely love to hear what stood out most to you. Was there like a little nugget of info or something surprising you learned about Mercia today?
Yeah, drop it in the comments below.
Let's get a conversation going about this super influential, but yeah, often overlooked kingdom.
And please do share this with anyone you think might be into early English history, or just hidden histories in general.
Yeah, the more we talk about these less famous bits of the past, the richer our whole picture becomes, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, final thought to leave you with. Just consider this. In a world where, the loudest voices often write the history books.
The winners write history, as they say.
Right. How many other powerful forces, other kingdoms, other groups throughout time might have massively shaped our world?
But remain largely unseen.
Exactly. Unseen in the main record, their influence only detectable in these faint echoes, these scattered clues we have to piece together. Are there other Mercias out there just waiting for us to rediscover their stories? Something to think about.